for being here. I appreciate the time to get to share a little bit about what's going on in the city of Mount Vernon. If you haven't visited our website before, please consider going to our website. We've got tons of information on there. You can sign up for e-newsletters, you can sign up for bid releases, you can sign up for all sorts of notifications that will go out to you. Council agendas, all that kind of stuff. So it's mountvernontlaw.gov. Please take a look at that. Before I start, I wanted to introduce staff in the back. So if you look back there, Chris Phillips is going to wave in just a second. He is our Development Services Director. Peter Donovan is standing next to him. He works in the mayor's office as a special projects administrator. So they're there with some information at our table to just connect you with information that could be in our folder here, or collect your business card and make sure that you get information as you leave, things that you might be interested in. So I thought I would share some of the slides that we have to talk about our opportunity zone. As John had mentioned, we have a couple of fairly large chunks in our city. The first one is here up on the screen is their College Way commercial zone, so we'll call it. Interstate 5 runs through it. It's exit 227. I know people in this room are probably really familiar with that particular area. Some of the strengths and opportunities that you'll find in this particular designation are going to be the infrastructure improvements that the city's done, especially over the last, say, 10 years or so. Most of our transportation dollars have gone into this particular area starting about 15 years ago with College and Riverside, which is the highest traffic intersection in the county. Those improvements were done on Freeway Drive. There's improvements that have been done there. You're probably experiencing the widening of College Way under I-5 currently. That's a $7 million infrastructure project to increase capacity, kind of that final or sort of linchpin in that transportation network. So those particular infrastructure improvements are pretty important when it comes to investment and access. There's fiber optic infrastructure within the city on a municipal network. Those of you who don't know about that, you can get connections through the city. You can go to any of our 8 ISPs. If you have Comcast right now, you should give us a call because we can offer fiber optic speeds up to 1 entire gig for you. We've even had customers come in and specialty having their own strands. So it's important that you know that that infrastructure is in place in the city. Commercially zoned, national chain stores that are present there, and there's definitely some big parcels. We're working with an investment company on the Freeway Drive location right now, and so just a little bit more about the interchange improvements that are there. So this photo is a concept rendering, if you didn't notice that. But when our I-5 widening project is done, there'll be 2 lanes added to it, and some more pocket lanes on the east side of that interchange that will be complete, and again, having that access. We've really heard from investors and developers over the last, say, 6 or 8 years that when cities invest in infrastructure, that really helps them with cost. So if you can imagine you're coming in and you're required to do 3/4 street improvements, you're like, okay, that doesn't pencil. So there's certain things that we as a city have embraced where we want to invest, where we want some of that investment to occur. That's done through infrastructure improvements. That's why I wanted to highlight on that. Part of the other things that are going on in this particular area is that because of some of the development coming in on Freeway Drive, we built in capacity in our stormwater system there, so there's some capacities there. There's grant applications in with funding to extend these street improvements south on Freeway Drive from College. So everyone maybe knows where that would be, kind of going by along where PUD is. So those types of things are infrastructure investments from the city that then really help make some development pencil there. So that's widening of the road, there's stormwater curbing and sidewalking on that side. So that's in the works. Highlights of that area again to mention, the commercial and the major retail that is present. In this particular zone, you'll notice that Skagit Valley College is adjacent. So the zone runs all the way up to LaVenture. So we've had investors come and talk about working with the college on residential, student housing, all that kind of stuff. Those are potentials in this particular zone. And we as a city are very engaged with our partners such as the college and knowing what opportunities they have. We're really happy to partner with the appropriate investor and commercial developer with them. There is some residential potential in this particular zone as well. There are a couple of larger parcels, some of the larger parcels in the city that we've spoken with property owners about. We've introduced them to investors. And it's really up to the agent, the real estate agent, and the owners and the investors to work that out. We really would love some redevelopment that's encouraged. So I think what you'll find is that with our comprehensive planning, we're coming in, looking not only just at the zoning designations, but the underlying comprehensive plan designation actually opens up a lot more opportunities than when you first look at the straight up zoning. Just stuff to use, especially when you're using a professional land use planner in your development, that helps a lot to really know the potentials of particular pieces of property. And then back. So that covers just the College Way zone, I would say. We do have our historic downtown and hospital district. So not only is the historic downtown, but the way that the census tracts work, that's what an adjacent track came in with the county commissioners. It actually goes up into our hospital district. So just making sure people realize that the opportunities are downtown may be distinct from the opportunities that are available in the hospital district. So a couple things about this particular area. Again, our fiber optic system is I-5 adjacent, which for just traffic flow, people seeing business or getting off I-5, that's a pretty big deal. Part of the historic downtown zone is covered by the historic piece, which is north of Kincaid. Then there's a sub-area plan, which is we call south of Kincaid sub-area plan, which I'll talk about in just a minute. There is a catalyst project that we've been working on there, we'll talk about. And there's going to be public-private partnership opportunities coming up. And that has to do with waterfront parcels that the city owns that were part of the flood protection. So that would be waterfront parcels right off of Kincaid and then closer to the west side of the bridge. So we'll talk a few details about this particular area, some of the highlights. Some of the things that come our way as comments like, oh gosh, well downtown has all these empty storefronts. Well, there's 11 of them, and 7 of them are tenant improvements. So when you think about the investment that's occurring, that's a little bit different than them being empty and for sale. So it's really a dynamic time right now in the city with those particular owners working on really great improvements in the downtown. On our plaza, Main Street District Brewing is coming in. They're a great investor developer that's taken over the whole theater. They knew what they were getting into. They were willing to invest. Their values of that family development company wanted to invest, make restorations, bring a family-friendly restaurant downtown, and we're so excited to work with them. They've been absolutely a joy to work with, and knowing what they were getting into, bringing on the appropriate consultants to help them get really smooth and fast permitting has been awesome. They say, Mark said, well, we want to be open by August, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I love optimistic developers who want to get in there. They're not waiting on us. They just have a ton of work. So we're excited to welcome them. I'll say sometime in late summer, early fall. The operations and redevelopment. So those of you who may have been watching that, may not. We've been working with an investment and a developer for 2 years now. Their SEPA is completed. We've been processing building permitting concurrently for them. A couple different steps still to go through with council, but it's been a real pleasure to work with them as well, involving the state DOT, which has been a real crux in access to that particular property over the last many years, and finding a developer with that sophistication and financial backing, quite frankly, to get through all of those hoops. So we're thrilled that they've stuck with it, and we're hopefully we see stuff going on in the winter there. It's exciting. Another really exciting thing that's just occurred, but we've been waiting for it for quite a long time, is our FEMA certification of our flood wall. So those of you who may have been following that story, is that we completed our flood protection over a year ago, the construction of it, and we applied to FEMA back in March of last year for that final certification. And what that does is it removes more than 200 properties from the floodplain because of the project. So as you can imagine, as developers and investors, when you have to build to flood certification, that adds a ton of cost. That is all going to be removed. So the LOMAR has been issued, the draft map is out, the LOMAR will be the maps will be finalized on October 25th of this year. So you'll be seeing more of that celebration coming. It's definitely in a 90-day comment period, but any appeals have to be extremely scientific. It's not just, oh, we don't like it, and then FEMA says, oh, okay, then fine, we'll perfect. So that process is underway. When I talked about private and public opportunities for the publicly owned properties on the waterfront itself, that's where this comes in. The city has been waiting for that final certification because they do own property now on the waterfront. So I would anticipate sometime after the maps become finalized, the city council will want to go out and look for requests for proposals, requests for qualifications of folks who might want to partner with the city and do development. That's definitely a few more months away, but it has always been something that's been included in our downtown development and master plan to do that. So more to come on that, and exciting things that will occur. All right, that's where we talk about the city waterfront parcels. Type that in. South of Kincaid sub area. This is again all online for you to take a look at. This was completed and adopted by City Council, and what this did was take that south of Kincaid area, which includes South Christensen side all the way down that section, and it really does an overlay of zoning there. And the intent was to really spur live work units, to look at infill projects, to do mixed use there. So there are opportunities, again, if you're looking at the flat out zoning map, you need to dive into what are those underlying comprehensive plan designations. So if you're interested in any of that investment, a big thing for us is wanting to look at residential units and density in those particular areas for high density residential with then a commercial element to it. In the historic downtown itself, those of you may not realize, but density is not limited by any code. So you could say it's a limited density based on what you can build to comply with fire code, and that's pretty much it. There isn't even any parking requirements. So if you didn't know that, and you want to invest in downtown, you need to come and talk to us. Okay. A highlighted project that's all part of the entire plan of this is that to have parking. So when we hear from our investors and our developers, it's like, we can't make it pencil because you make us do parking. Well, we're not going to apologize for that in a busy community. However, here's what we want to do to help make some of these projects a reality. So this particular rendering is of our Mount Vernon Library Commons. This is a project we've been working on now for about a year and a half in all seriousness. The location, if you can't tell from the rendering, is on our next slide, which is right across from the county courthouse. The idea of the Mount Vernon Library Commons project is a 30,000 square foot mixed use facility with library and community center space and 3 to 4 levels of structured parking above it. Free public parking, and we're definitely interested in looking at how this can catalyze residential development, hotel development, where we're sharing that public parking to offset parking regulations for development. So if you're looking at the little circle, that's kind of the opportunity zone. It's like right in the middle of the opportunity zone. It's just an exciting time to take a look at that. The current status of the project, so over the last year we've done the soil sampling, we've done archaeological testing, we've done our ALTA surveying, we've done concepts, 3 different types of concepts, what we could fit on the particular site. When it comes back for our construction costs, it's anywhere different depending on your phased approach or not, between $30 and $45 million for this project. If you're thinking about, my goodness, the city is making a big investment in our future, we are. And so council has been really supportive, looking at how are we going to do financing for this. We've triggered our LIFT award. We're one of 9 cities in the state of Washington to receive a rebate of sales tax from the state. That's about a $14 million valuation there. So now we're like stacking up, how do we get to that construction piece? What we're hoping to do is complete the land transfer with Skagit County so we can launch into design and engineering of the foundation, which will help us even narrow down what those costing things are, and then make some decisions on phasing if we need to. But the entire goal is to get that structured parking open so that we can then realize that development that we talked about a few minutes ago. So exciting things happening there. All right. Kind of went through the timeline of that. We would really, really love, in a perfect world, to be making those phased decisions, do that foundation work this summer or this fall, and know going into 2020 that we're going to be working on design and engineering for that project. Because then that gives us a real basis to talk with investors on development in the town area. Part of the idea of this particular mixed-use project are several economic drivers. So one of the goals that we've tried to figure out how to get to is the idea of a meet in the middle space between Vancouver, BC and Seattle. If we can attract folks that are coming in, there's a ton of Microsoft workers in BC because of immigration issues. If we can have some type of a convention space where people are coming up, they can spend the day, they can leave their money here, they can go home, then that's something that we would love to be able to look at. We're looking at a commercial kitchen in that space, so we can seat up to 200 people for a luncheon. Maker space, job seeker support. I think what people also forget is in your library, in your modern library, there's access to incredible amounts of business development tools. So whether that's lynda.com, that's giving you videos on how to do stuff, market research, all of that is available from your public library, and people don't think about that very often. But could that save you some consultant money when you're putting your financial packages together? Maybe some of the tool is there. So all in all, just the City of Mount Vernon, if you've developed with us before, if you're new, we do free pre-application meetings, which means if you're coming in with projects, you want to sit down, we assemble our entire team, including the fire marshal, building inspector, building official, planner, to really talk through what your project is. That is free. And that is an hour of time with all of those people, so it's a really valuable service that we offer within the city. We have fast and predictable online permitting system. If you haven't taken a look at SmartGov yet, you really need to. It's something that we've implemented in the city. It's $250,000 of investment in technology to have electronic plan review and a great deal of accountability between the city in processing your permit and the applicant. It's all very transparent on where that permitting is as it goes through the process. So we want to make sure that you know that you can take advantage of that. Everything's online. No more bringing in 3 to 5 copies of paper, and it's a really awesome tool. We do have competitive commercial impact fees, and that is because the City of Mount Vernon is probably 75% residential. We want to incentivize commercial development because that's a much different tax base than property owners and their residential tax bills. So that is a purposeful thing with the City Council from long before my time, is to really make sure that those commercial impact fees are as low as possible, including reducing traffic impact fees last year. All right, so that's really it from the city perspective. Again, we have staff in the back. I'm sure we'll be able to answer questions afterward or however we want to do that. But turn it